Hello and welcome everyone. Today, I'll be taking you through the gripping 2020 French sci-fi film Meander. Heads up, spoilers ahead, so proceed with caution. The story begins with Lisa, lying motionless in the middle of an empty road, gazing at the sky with silent tears streaming down her face, seemingly resigned to her fate. The sound of an approaching car breaks the stillness, but she doesn't move, waiting for death to claim her. At the last moment, she rises and steps aside, narrowly avoiding the vehicle. The driver stops beside her and offers her a ride, pointing out that they're in the middle of nowhere, with the nearest gas station 6 to 7 miles away. Initially hesitant, Lisa declines, but as snow begins to fall, she reconsiders her decision. Lisa hesitates, but eventually accepts the ride, and the driver, a man named Adam, opens the door for her. As they drive, Adam tries to make small talk, asking about Lisa's job and sharing bits about his own life, but she remains quiet and distant. Her heart is heavy with grief. Her daughter, Nina, tragically passed away, and today would have been her birthday. When Adam delicately asks if that's why she was lying on the road, Lisa admits she doesn't truly want to die but longs for a way to see her daughter again. The conversation fades as Adam switches on the radio, where a news report announces two murders that occurred earlier that morning, casting an ominous shadow over their journey. The news reports that the suspected serial killer is a white male with a cross tattoo on his right hand. Adam lowers the volume, and Lisa's heart sinks as she notices the very same tattoo on his hand. Fear grips her, but before she can react, Adam slams the brakes, jolting the car to a violent stop and knocking her unconscious. When Lisa comes to, she finds herself in a narrow, dimly lit room with cold steel walls. She's now dressed in a bodysuit, and her arm feels heavy with a glowing, bulky bracelet strapped tightly to her wrist. Panic takes over as she screams for help, pounding on the walls and clawing at any opening in a desperate bid to escape, but the silence and confinement offer no answers. Strange mechanical noises echo from beyond the steel walls, filling Lisa with unease. Suddenly, a circular door slides open, and without much thought, she scrambles through it, only for it to seal shut behind her. She now finds herself in an even tighter, claustrophobic tunnel. As she struggles to make sense of her situation, the glowing bracelet on her wrist begins to emit a ticking sound, counting down from 11 minutes. Confused and terrified, Lisa instinctively knows that whatever the countdown signifies, it can't be good. With no other options, she crawls forward, her path lit only by the faint glow of her bracelet, heading toward a distant light that offers the faintest glimmer of hope or perhaps something far worse. Just as Lisa inches forward, the light at the end of the tunnel vanishes, and a door slams shut ahead of her, plunging her into darkness. Desperation sets in as she notices a tiny opening to her left, her only escape. Forcing herself to become paper-thin, she squeezes through the narrow gap, her breath quick and shallow, and emerges into a new tunnel. Unlike before, this space glows ominously in shades of yellow and red, a stark contrast to the blue light of her previous room. Relief is fleeting as she realizes the floor beneath her is rising, steadily compressing the space. Racing against time, Lisa scrambles toward the far end, heart pounding, and manages to escape just moments before the crushing floor can trap her forever. Lisa pauses, gasping for air, but the relentless ticking of her wristband demands she press on. The stench hits her first, a putrid, overwhelming odor, and soon she sees the source, a decaying corpse sprawled across her path. Fighting back nausea, she gags as she pushes the lifeless body aside to clear her way. Just as she advances, a door crashes down from the ceiling, its surface marked by 3 openings, and her bracelet begins flashing red. The countdown warns there's only 1 minute remaining, but she still has no idea what will happen when it reaches 0. Panic rises as she fumbles to decipher the mechanism, and then the walls erupt with dozens of fiery, glowing tubes, their searing heat closing in around her. Suddenly, a wall slides open behind her, revealing a small hollow space, and Lisa dives into it just as a glass door seals her inside. Heart pounding, She watches in horror as her clock hits 0 and flames roar through the corridor she narrowly escaped. The fire consumes everything in its path, and once the scorching tubes retract, the glass door finally opens, pushing Lisa back into the corridor. But safety is fleeting. The walls begin closing in on her, pressing so tightly she can barely breathe, then mercifully stop just short of crushing her. Shaken and disbelieving she's alive, Lisa breaks down in tears, only to notice her clock reset ominously to 11 minutes, ticking once again. Lisa pushes forward, her fingers brushing against something cold and wet, a pool of water. Parched and desperate, she takes a quick sip to ease her thirst before taking a deep breath and diving in, her glowing bracelet lighting the way. She swims to the next opening, where she emerges in a wider tunnel and dares to feel a flicker of hope. But safety is an illusion. A torrent of water suddenly floods the room, surging around her and carrying yet another decaying corpse to her feet. Horrified but with no choice, Lisa forces herself to wade through the filthy water, swimming through the murky, suffocating depths to escape. Exhausted and drenched, Lisa lies down, trying to catch her breath, when a man's desperate cries for help echo through the tunnel, reigniting her urgency. She pushes forward, the passage ahead appearing harmless at first, until the panels abruptly slide open beneath her, exposing a pool of green, fuming liquid. The acrid stench warns her of danger, but to confirm her fears, Lisa tears a strip from her bodysuit and dips it into the liquid, watching in horror as the fabric disintegrates instantly its acid. Bracing herself on the tunnel's edges, she cautiously inches forward, her focus razor-sharp. Relief begins to set in as she nears safety, but then her knee slips, plunging into the corrosive liquid, and pain erupts in a searing wave. Lisa screams in agony as the acid sears her skin, the unbearable pain nearly paralyzing her. Despite this, the desperate cries of the man ahead spur her on. Gritting her teeth, she forces herself into the tunnel below, drawn toward the voice. 2 doors with the familiar 3 openings block her path, separating her from the man on the other side. His voice trembles with despair, and it's clear he's been trapped far longer than Lisa. Between sobs, he warns her that they are going to kill her. Before she can ask who they are, both their bracelets begin to glow an ominous red, signaling that time is running out. The burning tubes suddenly slide out of the walls again, and this time, the only safe space lies between Lisa and the man. Desperation fills his voice as he warns her that she's as good as dead. Now he'll fight for the space, determined to claim it for himself. As soon as the doors open, Lisa doesn't hesitate. With a surge of determination, she rushes forward, not afraid to kick and shove the man out of her way, despite his occasional bursts of strength. The struggle is fierce, but Lisa fights through, managing to trap his hand in a vulnerable position. In the final, desperate moments, the glass door slams down, severing his hand and sealing her path to safety. The man screams in agony, and as Lisa glances down at his other hand, she spots the familiar cross tattoo. Recognizing him as Adam, shock courses through her as she realizes the truth. All along, she had believed he was the one who had abducted her, but how could he be trapped in the tunnels too? Just as this revelation hits her, their clocks run out, and the corridor erupts in flames once again, engulfing Adam in the inferno. Overcome with terror, Lisa covers her ears to block out his screams, but the overwhelming horror causes her to faint, her body unable to endure any more. When she regains consciousness, the first thing she sees is Adam's severed hand lying beside her. In disgust, she shoves it away, unable to stomach the reality of what has just happened. Lisa soon notices a hole in the ceiling, from which a gel-like fluid is dripping. To her horror, a decaying human head begins to emerge from the hole, its skull adorned with a steel helmet. As she watches in disbelief, the helmet seemingly heals the burn on her knee, while a tube extends from the head's mouth, feeding her. The sight of the skull glowing with a bright light jolts Lisa back into her memories, transporting her to the moment when Adam had stopped the car. She relives the struggle, seeing herself battling him as he lunged at her with a knife, desperate to stab her. After she manages to overpower him, She looks down at her hands, horrified to see blood evidence that the brutal fight has left its mark on her. Lisa lifts her gaze to the night sky, her eyes drawn to the stars twinkling above. But one star begins to glow brighter and brighter until a beam of light falls upon her, pulling her out of the memories and back to the present. In that moment, she realizes with chilling certainty that whatever has abducted her is not of this earth. As if to confirm this eerie truth, the decaying head retreats back into the hole, and Lisa, along with Adam's severed hand, is once again thrust into the corridor. Desperate for any clue that might help her, she examines the hand, noticing something unusual beneath the glowing bracelet. 3 symbols etched into Adam's skin, 2 circles with an X between them, their meaning as cryptic as the nightmare she finds herself trapped in. Lisa stares at the symbols, unable to decipher their meaning, when a sudden burst of bright orange light flares to life at the end of the corridor. At first, she mistakes it for a moving fan, but her heart drops as she realizes it's a menacing mincer, creeping toward her with deadly intent. Panic sets in as she begins to retreat, desperate to find the hole through which she entered. She watches in horror as Adam's severed hand is crushed and swollen by the mincer, and she narrowly escapes, her feet almost caught in its grinding teeth. With a sharp breath, she rushes into the tunnel, and as she does, her wristband resets, counting down from 11 once again. Before she can process what's happening, a round panel above her slides open, adding yet another layer of uncertainty to her already perilous situation. A hand suddenly lowers from the darkness, followed by the eerie shape of a body, but it's the growls and snarls that send a chill through Lisa's spine. This isn't another trapped person, but something far worse, a monster. At first, she tries to remain calm, noting that the creature doesn't seem immediately aggressive, but as she attempts to inch forward, it growls menacingly in warning. Panic surges when she accidentally taps her wristband against the cold steel flooring, the faint sound triggering the zombie's pursuit. Heart racing, Lisa darts to the right, then swiftly to the left, squeezing through a narrow gap between 2 walls, where the creature is trapped just behind her, snarling in frustration as she narrowly escapes its deadly reach. Lisa pushes forward, the ticking of her wristband driving her onward, until she comes upon a room with 2 identical openings. She studies both tunnels carefully but finds no discernible differences, so, on a whim, she chooses the left one. The moment she steps inside, a soft voice begins singing, and to her shock, she recognizes it as her daughter Nina's voice. Hope surges in her chest as she follows the melody, only to find that the tunnel leads her into a stark white room, not another horrifying chamber. As she reaches out and touches one of the walls, the glass behind her begins to glow, and to her disbelief, it starts to display memories from her past, fragments of her life she thought she had long forgotten. The glass wall plays out memories Lisa can barely comprehend, like a scene of herself as a baby in a crib, with her father laughing above her, and others she's longed to relive, such as her daughter Nina joyfully playing in the playground. But then the wall reveals a painful truth. The tragic moment when Nina, chasing after a ball that fell out of a window, was struck and killed. Overcome with guilt, Lisa breaks down in tears, blaming herself for her daughter's death. However, her grief is cut short as she hears the zombie's hands banging against the ceiling, a stark reminder that time is running out. With no time to spare, she jumps into the next tunnel, the monster right behind her. But when she looks ahead, she sees something unexpected, a tunnel that leads to a bright, open sky, offering a glimmer of hope. The only obstacle between Lisa and the bright sky is a web of thorny wires, stretching in every direction, their sharp points threatening to tear her apart. As if this weren't enough, her clock begins to beep, warning her that only 1 minute remains, and, just as always, the burning tubes emerge from the walls, ready to incinerate her. With no other choice, Lisa grits her teeth and pushes forward, the thorns digging deep into her skin with every agonizing movement. As she finally breaks free from the deadly tangle, the time runs out, and the tunnel bursts into flames, engulfing everything in its path. Just when it seems like the fire will consume her, the floor suddenly opens beneath her, swallowing her whole and sparing her from certain death. Lisa regains consciousness in the same room where she first woke up, the weight of her hopeless situation almost too much to bear as she contemplates the futility of her efforts. As she lies there, a skull descends to heal the wounds still oozing blood, but in a desperate cry, she begs it to end her suffering instead. Just as a needle is poised to inject into her system, a flash of realization hits her. She remembers the symbols beneath Adam's wristband, the cryptic markings, and it suddenly clicks. They were a clue, pointing her toward the right tunnel. With a surge of determination, she suspects that she too has markings hidden under her wristband, marking the path she must take to escape. Lisa allows the robot skull to heal her wounds. Then, with newfound resolve, she re-enters the tunnels, now knowing exactly what to do and where to go. She navigates through the tunnel that once almost crushed her with ease, dodges the flames with precision, already aware of the safe opening, and swiftly swims through the next tunnel. When she reaches the acid pool she had encountered earlier, she dips her hand in just enough to burn out the clock, and as it snaps off her wrist, she sees the markings she had suspected all along. Beneath her wristband are 2 X's and 1 circle confirming her theory. With this revelation, Lisa realizes that the path she must take is to first follow the left tunnel, then the right one, a plan that might finally lead her to escape. Lisa follows the tunnel ahead without hesitation, trusting her instincts and the clues she's pieced together. Just as she nears the end, a zombie appears, hot on her trail, forcing her to quicken her pace. The next tunnel she encounters has no gravity, leaving her completely at the mercy of the space around her, unable to control her descent. Despite the disorienting fall, she escapes it far quicker than the zombie. The moment she emerges from the tunnel, her clock shifts from its usual yellow to a glowing purple, signaling something has changed. Thinking quickly, she throws her wristband into a different tunnel, hoping to distract the creature, and seizes the opportunity to enter yet another path, praying it leads her closer to freedom. With the zombie now following the wrong tunnel, Lisa finally has a moment to breathe and think. In her quiet reflection, she realizes she must have taken the wrong path earlier, so she quickly turns right, hoping it leads her to safety. The new tunnel she enters is unsettling, its walls lined with an intestine-like membrane that feels sickening to the touch. When she breaks through the membrane, she finds herself in a room that seems to resemble the inside of an organ, its walls pulsing with life. As her hand meets the wall, a 3-fingered hand suddenly presses against hers, followed by an alien head that presses against the surface, trying to make contact. To Lisa's surprise, she senses that these creatures are not hostile, but rather curious and playful, offering her an unexpected sense of connection amidst the chaos. As Lisa enters the next room, she discovers that the broken bracelet has been returned to her, but there's a new problem. The zombie has gotten caught at the tunnel exit. When the wristband lights up red, signaling only 1 minute left, the zombie awakens and begins pursuing her. Panicked, Lisa retreats back into the tunnels, but the zombie grabs her foot, forcing her to strike it with the wristband to break free. The burning tubes have already emerged, and the safe space activates to protect her, sealing her in. Yet, as the flames rage around her, Lisa soon realizes that the tunnel outside remains unscathed, and what seemed like a moment of triumph is actually another grim reminder that her survival is far from certain. The glass door slides open once more, and the safe space forces Lisa back into the tunnel, where she faces the monster again. Determined to end the zombie's threat once and for all, she steps on its head, pressing down with all her weight, and waits for the safe space to give her one final, powerful push. As the zombie's head is crushed beneath her foot, Lisa breathes a sigh of relief, thankful to have narrowly escaped death again. She retreats into the organ room, then exits through the other passage, only to find herself at another crossroads. At the end of the tunnel, 2 openings await her. The left one is wide and tall, while the right leads to yet another narrow tunnel. Lisa stands frozen, torn between the 2 tunnels, knowing she must choose wisely. Then, a ball rolls out of the wide, left tunnel, the same one that had led to her daughter Nina's tragic death. Tears well in her eyes as Nina appears before her, and the overwhelming joy of seeing her daughter again makes Lisa want to abandon everything and follow her. Nina beckons her to forget the time, urging her to follow without hesitation, and for a moment, Lisa is tempted to do so. But deep down, Lisa realizes this is nothing more than an illusion. The painful truth hits her: she can't let her emotions cloud her judgment. Though it breaks her heart to lose this fleeting moment with her daughter, Lisa knows she must turn away, walk back, and enter the right tunnel, choosing survival over the impossible hope of being reunited. Before choosing the right path, Lisa shares one last, heartfelt embrace with Nina, who softly tells her, "We're all proud of you." The words fill Lisa with warmth, but the realization soon dawns that this is nothing more than a vision conjured by the aliens. As the illusion fades and Lisa opens her eyes, Nina is gone, leaving only the painful truth. With a heavy heart, Lisa steels herself and moves forward, determined to reach the end of the tunnel where the sky awaits. But just as she nears the exit, 3 doors suddenly fall from the ceiling, blocking her way. Knowing that time is no longer her concern, Lisa sets the wristband aside, resolved to push forward and face whatever challenges lie ahead, regardless of the ticking clock. Lisa carefully observes that the first door falls every 4 seconds, and with a leap of faith, she barely slips past it with just 1 second to spare. The second door falls every 3 seconds, and she manages to squeeze through in the nick of time, her heart racing. However, the third door falls every 2 seconds, making it seemingly impossible to get past. But Lisa is so close to the sky, she can't stop now. With one final push, she almost makes it through, but the door catches her, and she screams in agony as half of her foot is sliced off. Struggling against the pain, she reaches out toward the sky, only to realize with a sinking heart that it was just a screen all along. Laying in pain and tears, Lisa pleads with the aliens, telling them she has done everything they asked, enduring every trial for nothing, yet the burning tubes slide out of the walls once again. She braces herself for the searing flames, but to her surprise, they never come. Instead, a soothing blue light envelops her, and Lisa feels herself slowly levitating, as though the weight of her suffering is finally being lifted. When she awakens, all her wounds are miraculously healed, and the gentle chirping of birds fills the air. She finds herself in the outside world, beside a tranquil waterfall, where the beauty of nature overwhelms her. As she stands in awe, Nina appears beside her, and for a moment, everything feels right again. Lisa, still in disbelief, asks Nina if she is dead, to which Nina replies that her body has died many times, but now she is safe. Seeking clarity, Lisa asks what she must do next, and Nina's only answer is that she has to live, meaning she must move forward, letting go of the past once and for all. As Lisa gazes up at the sky, to planets hanging in the distance, a realization washes over her. She may not be on Earth at all, but instead on the very planet the aliens brought her to, where she can now be with her daughter in this strange new life.